You can see your future so clearly it almost hurts. The successful version of you, the disciplined one, the one who finally did the thing, you've imagined it 1,000 times in the shower before sleep during long commutes. It feels so real you can taste it. So why are you still here, still scrolling, still waiting, still stuck in the exact same place you were 6 months ago? This isn't about laziness. It's something far more specific and far more fixable than that. Let me describe your morning. You wake up with clarity. Today is different. Today you'll finally start the project, write the first page, make the call, take the step. You can feel it. This time it's real. Then you reach for your phone. Just a quick check, 5 minutes, 10, an hour dissolves. Suddenly it's noon and the energy you woke up with has evaporated. You tell yourself you'll start after lunch, after you rest, after you have more energy, after tomorrow. By nightfall, you're lying in bed with that familiar weight in your chest. Guilt, disappointment, the gnawing awareness that you just wasted another day of your one finite life. You make promises to yourself in the dark. Tomorrow will be different. You'll wake up earlier. You'll be focused, disciplined. Tomorrow you'll become the person you know you're supposed to be. But when tomorrow arrives, the script repeats, word for word, frame for frame. And here's the worst part. You know you're capable of more. You can feel it, this untapped reservoir of potential just sitting inside you, unused. Not because you're stupid, not because you lack talent, but because some invisible force keeps pulling you back toward comfort every single time you try to move forward. This has been going on for months, maybe years, and you're starting to wonder if this is just who you are. A person who dreams but never does. Picture this version of yourself, ambitious enough to envision an extraordinary life, yet paralyzed enough to live an ordinary one. You're not apathetic. Apathetic people don't feel this internal war. You care deeply. You want it desperately. But somewhere between the wanting and the doing, something breaks down. You are not alone in this. There's an entire category of people living in this exact psychological prison, full of ideas, empty of action, and the most painful part, you can see the bars clearly. You just can't figure out how to open the door. Here's what's actually happening inside your brain. You're living in a civil war, two systems, both convinced they're protecting you, locked in constant combat. System 1, the dreamer. This part sees possibility. It sets goals, imagines success, builds entire worlds in your mind where you've already made it. This system is ambitious, hungry, alive with potential. System 2, the guardian. This part has one job, keep you safe. It scans for threat. And to this ancient, protective part of your brain, effort is a threat. Uncertainty is a threat. The possibility of failure, rejection, humiliation, all threats. Right now, the guardian is winning, not because you're weak, but because it's been in power longer. It has better infrastructure, stronger habits, and it knows exactly how to keep you in place. Here's the mechanism. When you think about working on your goal, your brain doesn't register opportunity. It registers danger, the discomfort of sustained focus, the vulnerability of putting something imperfect into the world, the terrifying possibility that you'll try your hardest and discover it wasn't enough. So your brain offers you an escape hatch, a quick hit of dopamine, scroll through social media, watch one more video, play a game, anything that feels good right now. The discomfort evaporates, relief floods in, and your brain logs this as a successful threat response. Avoidance made me feel better. Let's do that again. This isn't laziness. This is survival mode. Your brain genuinely believes it's protecting you, but while it's shielding you from short-term discomfort, it's systematically destroying your long-term happiness. Every day you avoid your goals, you're not just procrastinating. You're training. You're building a habit of avoidance that gets stronger each time you practice it. You're teaching your brain that your dreams don't matter as much as your comfort, and you're reinforcing a belief that lives quietly beneath everything you do. I'm not good enough to succeed, so why try? This is the cycle, and it gets harder to break the longer it runs. The motivation myth. Let me guess what you're thinking right now. If I just had more discipline, if I could just find the right motivation, if I could be more like those successful people who seem to have it all figured out. But that's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. Motivation is a feeling. Feelings are weather systems. They come, they stay briefly, they leave. You cannot build a life on motivation any more than you can build a house on shifting sand. What you need is something that exists when motivation doesn't. You need structure, systems, the kind of boring, unsexy infrastructure that actually holds a life together. Discipline is not a personality trait you're born with. It's not a genetic gift that other people have and you don't. It's a skill, a muscle, something you build through repeated, unglamorous practice. One small decision at a time. The perfectionism trap. There's another layer to this, and it runs deeper than you might think. You have such a clear vision of what success looks like that anything less feels like failure. The business idea is perfect in your head, the body you imagine having, the creative project fully formed. And because you can see it so clearly, because the destination is so vivid, the messy, imperfect process of actually getting there feels like betrayal. So you wait. You wait for the perfect plan. You wait until you feel ready. You wait until conditions are ideal, until you have more time, more money, more energy, more certainty. But perfect never comes, ready never arrives, and while you're waiting for ideal conditions, life is passing you by in real time. Here's what perfectionism actually is: fear wearing a disguise. It's your brain giving you a sophisticated excuse to never start, because if you never start, you never have to face the possibility of failure. You never have to test whether your ideas are actually good. You never have to discover whether you're truly capable of the things you dream about. As long as you don't try, you get to keep the fantasy. You get to believe privately, safely, that you could succeed if you wanted to, that you're choosing not to, rather than facing the terrifying possibility that you might try and still fail. But that belief is hollow, and somewhere deep down you know it. The real fear. Let me be brutally honest with you about something. You are afraid. Not of hard work, you've worked hard before. Not of failure exactly, you failed at things and survived. What you're afraid of is something more existential. You're afraid that if you actually give this your full effort, if you try with everything you have and it doesn't work out, you'll have to confront an uncomfortable truth. Maybe you're not as special as you thought. Maybe your ideas aren't as brilliant as they seemed in your head. Maybe the gap between who you imagine you could be and who you actually are is too wide to cross. That fear is paralyzing, because as long as you don't test it, you don't have to know. You get to live in the comfort of potential, that beautiful, safe space where anything is still possible because nothing has been attempted yet. But the cost of staying there is your life. So where does this lead? Not to one catastrophic failure. That would almost be easier. Instead, it leads to something slower, a gradual accumulation of days that blur into years, mornings where you promise yourself change, nights where you feel the weight of another day wasted. The external consequences are obvious: goals unmet, projects unstarted, a life that looks fine from the outside but feels empty from within, while other people, sometimes people less talented, less intelligent, less visionary than you, are building things you're still planning, still preparing, still waiting for the perfect moment to begin. But the internal consequences are worse. Every time you choose comfort over action, you're making a small deposit into an account labeled "I can't trust myself." Every broken promise to yourself compounds. Every abandoned goal becomes evidence that you're the kind of person who doesn't follow through. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, that internal narrative becomes your identity. You stop being someone who hasn't succeeded yet. You become someone who doesn't. The psychological term for this is learned helplessness, the belief, developed through repeated experience, that your actions don't matter, that trying is futile, that the gap between where you are and where you want to be is fundamentally unbridgeable. And here's the cruelest part of all: the longer this goes on, the more evidence you accumulate that it's true. Each failed attempt becomes proof. Each broken promise reinforces the pattern. The cage gets stronger every time you test the bars and find they won't budge. The saddest version of your future is not one where you try and fail. It's one where you spend decades wondering what would have happened if you had. But here's what changes everything. This pattern, this entire psychological architecture that's been running your life, it's not who you are, it's what you've learned, and anything learned can be unlearned. You don't need to become a different person. You don't need some radical personality transplant or a sudden burst of willpower that will finally stick this time. What you need is to understand a fundamental truth that most people never grasp. Failure is not the opposite of success. Inaction is. When you fail, you learn something. You get data. You discover what doesn't work, which is one step closer to finding what does. Every successful person you admire has failed more times than you've even tried. The difference isn't talent or intelligence or special genetics. The difference is this: they kept moving. They took action before they felt ready. They built momentum through consistency, not through motivation. They understood that imperfect action beats perfect planning every single time. And that's what you need to do, not someday, not when you feel ready, not when conditions are perfect, now with what you have, starting from exactly where you are. The version of you that succeeds isn't the one who figures everything out first. It's the one who starts moving and figures it out along the way. So how do you actually break this cycle? How do you go from someone who dreams to someone who does? It starts with accepting a hard truth that will feel uncomfortable at first. Solution 1: act despite the feeling. You are not going to feel like doing it. Read that again. You're probably never going to wake up bursting with energy and excitement to work on hard things. That's not how the human brain works. Motivation doesn't create action. Action creates motivation. You're going to have to do it anyway, especially when you don't feel like it. Because here's what's happening every time you take action despite the resistance. You're rewiring your brain. You're teaching it that discomfort isn't dangerous, that effort doesn't kill you, that the scary thing becomes less scary the more you do it. Every act of showing up when you don't feel like it is a vote for the person you want to become, and over time, those votes add up. They shift the internal election. The guardian loses power. The doer starts to win. Solution 2: start absurdly small. Here's where most people go wrong. They try to change everything overnight. They commit to working 3 hours a day, every day starting tomorrow. They're going to wake up at 5 a.m., go to the gym, meditate, work on their goals, and transform their entire life in one dramatic swoop. That's your perfectionism talking again, and it's setting you up to fail. Start small, ridiculously small, so small it feels almost pointless. 15 minutes on your project, 1 paragraph, 1 phone call. The goal isn't to make massive progress. The goal is to build the habit of showing up. Because here's what actually changes lives: consistency. Not intensity, not grand gestures, not heroic bursts of effort that burn out after 3 days. Small actions, repeated over time, that compound into something you wouldn't believe was possible when you started. You're not trying to be perfect, you're trying to be consistent, and consistency is what builds habits. Habits are what build lives. Solution 3: design your environment. Here's a truth that will shift how you see everything. Your environment is controlling you more than you realize. If your phone is next to your bed, you're going to check it first thing in the morning. If your workspace is cluttered, you're going to feel scattered. If you're surrounded by distractions, you're going to get distracted. This isn't a willpower problem. This is a design problem. Successful people don't have more discipline than you. They have better systems. They remove temptations before the moment of choice arrives. They create spaces where the default action is the productive action. They set up their lives so that doing the right thing is easier than doing the wrong thing. Turn off notifications. Put your phone in another room. Set a specific time each day for focused work and protect it like it's sacred. Remove everything from your workspace that isn't essential. Make it harder to be distracted than it is to focus. Every temptation you remove is a decision you don't have to make. And every decision you don't have to make is energy you can redirect toward your actual goals. Solution 4: stop consuming, start creating. Here's something you might not want to hear. You need to stop consuming so much content about change, the productivity videos, the motivational podcasts, the articles about success. All of it feels like progress. It gives you that little hit of dopamine, but it's not progress. It's another form of avoidance. It's your brain tricking you into thinking that learning is the same as doing. You don't need more information. You already know what you need to do. What you need is to close this video when it ends and take one action, just one, that moves you forward. Information without execution is just entertainment. Solution 5: accept the bad first draft. Here's another truth that will free you if you let it. Your first attempt at anything is going to be terrible. That's not a bug, that's the process. Every expert was once a beginner who sucked at what they do now. Every masterpiece started as a rough draft that embarrassed its creator. Every business that's thriving now had a shaky, uncertain first day. You're not going to create something amazing on your first try, and that's completely okay. You're not trying to be great right now. You're trying to build the habit of showing up. You're trying to generate feedback from the real world instead of the perfect simulations in your head. Quality comes later. Consistency comes first. Solution 6: forgive yourself and return. Here's what's going to happen when you start taking action. You're going to feel resistance. You're going to want to quit. You're going to have days where you fall back into old patterns. And that's okay. Progress is not a straight line. You're going to mess up, skip days, fall short of what you planned, and when that happens, you have a choice. You can do what you've always done, beat yourself up, spiral into guilt, use one bad day as evidence that you're fundamentally broken, and give up entirely. Or you can do what successful people do, acknowledge the setback, forgive yourself, and get back on track immediately. The difference between people who succeed and people who don't isn't that successful people never fail. It's that they don't let one bad day turn into a bad week. They don't let one mistake become permission to quit. They just keep coming back. Guilt doesn't motivate you. Shame doesn't make you better. Every time you lie in bed hating yourself for wasting another day, you're actually making the problem worse. You're reinforcing the narrative that you're not good enough. Practice self-compassion instead. Talk to yourself the way you'd talk to a friend. You messed up today. That's okay. Tomorrow is a new day. What's one small thing you can do right now? Forgiveness isn't about letting yourself off the hook. It's about giving yourself permission to try again without carrying the crushing weight of every past failure. Here's what you need to remember. Write it down if you have to. You are not lazy. Lazy is not who you are. Lazy is what you've been doing, and there's a difference, a massive, life-changing difference. Who you are is someone with dreams, with potential, with the capacity to change. What you've been doing is avoiding discomfort because your brain hasn't learned yet that discomfort is where growth lives. But now you understand the psychology behind your patterns. You see the mechanisms, you recognize the traps, and understanding is the first step toward change. But it's only the first step. Ambition without action is just fantasy. Wishing will not build the life you want, but action without self-compassion won't last either. You need both, the discipline to move even when you don't feel like it, and the compassion to forgive yourself when you fall short. That balance, discipline and compassion, structure and grace, that's what creates lasting change. So here's what I want you to do, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, right now. Stop watching videos about change and become the change. Stop planning your life and start living it. Stop waiting for motivation and start building discipline through tiny, unglamorous actions that nobody will ever praise you for. Take one small step today, one paragraph, one phone call, 15 minutes, it doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that it's real, that it exists outside your head. Because that one small step is going to teach your brain something new. It's going to show it that you're serious this time, that the pattern is breaking, that the person who just dreams is becoming the person who does. And if you take another small step tomorrow, and another the day after, that momentum will start to build, slowly at first, then faster. And before you know it, 6 months from now, a year from now, you won't recognize the person you used to be. You have spent so much of your life imagining the future you want. Now it's time to build it, not someday, not when conditions are perfect. Now, today, this moment. One small action at a time, one uncomfortable choice at a time, one day of showing up even when you don't feel like it. That's how lives change. That's how dreams stop being dreams and become reality. You are capable of so much more than you've shown yourself, but nobody is going to do this for you. Nobody is going to save you from yourself. You are the only one who can break this cycle. You're not broken, you're not hopeless, you're just stuck in a pattern, and patterns can be changed. It won't be easy, it won't be comfortable, but it will be worth it, because on the other side of this struggle is the version of you that you've always wanted to be. The version that doesn't just dream. The version that does. Go be that person, starting right now. If this resonated with you, the next video explores why smart people often struggle to succeed, and how intelligence can actually become a trap. It might be the missing piece you've been looking for.